Memphis, Tennessee. Beautiful, diverse, southern. It's hard to think of Memphis without thinking about music. While it's home to the birthplace of rock and roll, out of Memphis culture grew a community that loves blues, gospel, jazz, rap, R&B, soul, sports, and delicious barbecue. A bit south of the heart of Memphis and stretching from Midtown and downtown to the Mississippi state line stands one of the oldest communities of this grand city, Riverside, South Memphis. While most focus on the accomplishments of Memphis as a whole, this new podcast, Riverside in Review, sheds light on the incredible names and achievements that have sprung from this significant community in the South. Some you may know and some you may not. From the musical greats like the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin, to impactful politicians like Benjamin Hooks. On this podcast, we will discuss them all and more. So join me, your host, Demetrius Smith, as I, through in-depth conversations, explore the soul and the soulful history of Riverside, South Memphis. You may ask, why a podcast? Or better yet, why a podcast about South Memphis? The answer for me is simple. It's long overdue. If we allow the local and national media to give us a snapshot of who we are, we will only see crime and poverty. But I know that Riverside, South Memphis is much more than that. While I can admit crime in our city is out of control, we should not accept this one-sided view of who we are. I know that despite the problems facing our community, there are several individuals from among our ranks who are doing tremendous work within and outside of the community. These individuals have garnered considerable momentum, contributing to positive societal influence. Unfortunately, their endeavors go largely unnoticed, since, in my opinion, they don't have the benefit of powerful media to highlight their hard work and accomplishments. Why not create a platform where these individuals can be seen and heard, a place where through an in-depth conversation about the community's rich historical significance and the work of these dedicated individuals, the narrative can shift and we can get a closer, more intimate picture of Riverside, South Memphis.
Hey, baby, what you doing tonight? I'm in town for a little while and I bet you're feeling lonely.
Yeah, Pete!
Welcome to Riverside in Review, the podcast that brings you inspiring interviews with remarkable individuals who have made significant progress in the world of social politics, business, entertainment, and beyond. I am your host, Demetrius Smith. Please help me welcome my next guest. Carlos Sargent plays cadence with the heartbeat of the earth. With versatility flowing through his veins, the electrifying beats of his drums can be heard across all genre of music. A self-taught musician from South Memphis who was influenced by the rhythm and soul of James Brown, George Duke, Earth, Wind & Fire, Sting, Prince, and a myriad of other musicians with an undeniable force of talent. Sargent is a musical genius who has shared his gifts touring with some of the most influential icons he grew up listening to. With a career spanning over 20 years, Sargent has graced stages from Kuwait and Iraq to Italy and Japan. He has featured on the productions of recordings of 8-Ball and MJG, Howard Hewitt, Jimmy B and Friends, and the new Olivet Church, even featured in Drake's Worst Behavior video. Sargent has had featured performances with the Barkays, Wendy Moulton, Brick, Scarface, Stephanie Bolton, Dougie Fresh, and George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic. Today, Carlos Sargent is the music director and drummer for Grammy Award-winning jazz legend Miss Dee Dee Bridgewater, and he tours with the masters of funk, the Barkays, Confunction, the Daz Band and Slave, the Jubu Experience, and 8-Ball and MJG. To stay close to the energy source that inspires his music, Sargent is based in Memphis, where he continues to work closely with iconic Memphis artists, including Kirk Whalum, James Alexander, Larry Dodson, and the soul man himself, David Porter. We are happy to have this extremely talented brother with us today. So welcome, Carlos, and thanks for agreeing to join us.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
No problem. Now, my earliest memories of Carlos Sargent was in the halls of Riverview Junior High.
Yes, sir.
High Tough Fade.
Yes, sir.
Drumsticks always in hand. Very serious in the band room. The rest of us was giving Mr. Renda a hard time.
That was the one class I paid the most attention in, right?
Yeah, I remember. And, when I saw things that you were doing on Facebook and social media and all of that, it just amazed me, that I want to know, why the drums? It's like you to the drums right out the gate, right? Why that instrument?
Well, honestly, it's more so like the drums chose me. I grew up mimicking and enjoying all instruments, but my passion for music came through my drums, and it came through the easiest and with the most fluidity to it. So I'd say they chose me more so than me choosing them.
Okay, that's fair enough. When I look at your career, especially when I read that you were self-taught,
Yes, sir.
words like remarkable, they seem like such a light word to describe, you and your career. It's more like phenomenal, Can you give us a brief snapshot, the amazing journey from the days of Riverview up until the man that we see today?
Wow. Okay. So Riverview was my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade junior high. So when I went to Carver in 10th grade, the band director, Terry Saffold, was cousins with the minister of music at Olivet Church. Olivet is the church where Pastor Whalum Sr. was the pastor, who is the father of Kirk Whalum.
Okay.
Who played the sax solo on Whitney Houston's "I'll Always Love You." Superb jazz legend. Well, that started everything off for me. Looking back, when Terry Saffold introduced me to Anthony Kirkendall, and I started playing at Olivet, that put me in the making in the way of meeting Kirk. That changed my musical realm. From there, I graduated high school. I took a break. I moved away from Memphis, wanted to go catch up with some family. I stopped playing drums, stopped going to church, that whole 9 yards. So I moved back to Memphis.
And what was that time span?
I took a break from it altogether. I moved back to Memphis late 96, early 97, because my grandfather transitioned February of 97. I started back playing gospel music first and, doing church concerts, yada, 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 around Memphis. By 98, I started playing on Beale Street with a blues band in the middle of Beale Street back. You remember when the daiquiri shop was open on Beale Street, across from the New Daisy?
Mm-hmm.
Me and this band of gentlemen, we would line up across Beale Street and play from 6 to 10, for tips, what have you, yada, yada, yada. And that was the beginning of me gigging professionally. I went from playing with that band to, it was a club now it's called The Pig, but it used to be called This Is It, right next to where Jerry Lawler's place is now. It used to be the Memphis Police Precinct. Started playing there. The gentleman I was playing rock music with there had the opportunity to go to La Spezia, Italy, to bring in the year 2000. So my first opportunity to leave Memphis, leave the United States of America and travel abroad, I get a chance to play for a city on the Mediterranean Sea, and we bring in the year 2000. From there, more clubbing, going up to B.B. King's and getting the chance to see legends like Ruby Wilson, Preston Shannon, Little Jimmy King, all these greats who came decades before me do their thing, and I get a chance to get more exposure. Some kind of how I ended up out on a stage play during the year of 1999 when the Twin Tower attack happened. On this play was Michael Cooper from Confunction, Howard Hewitt, Larry Blackman from Cameo, and Thelma from Good Times.
Okay.
Michael Cooper and Howard Hewitt both enjoyed what I brought to the band with the stage play, and so they both agreed to give me a call and hire me when they needed a substitute drummer. That starts. Now I'm subbing with Confunction. I'm going out with Howard Hewitt as a solo artist. I get a chance to go to Japan for my first time playing with the group Shalimar that he was a part of. I get the opportunity to go to Iraq and Kuwait to play with the Bar-Kays, Confunction and Daz band during the Iraq and Kuwait war. So it was just more like a phone call turned into another phone call, that turned into another phone call, that turned into another phone call. So I never really auditioned for anything or went through any big wazoo to get a gig. It was just once I've played with one person, they enjoyed what I did and they referred me to someone else who referred me to someone else, and that's how that got going.
History, as they say.
Yeah, which moves forward. Okay, so I spend 10, 12, 14 years with the Barcades. I get a chance to play with the jazz artist Miss Dee Dee Bridgewater. Back in 2012, when the river flooded here in Memphis, I got a phone call to play with 8 Ball and MJG when we did the Memphis in May Beale Street Music Fest that year. That was a totally unexpected call, but what a journey that was to play with Memphis legends like that. So I've just been very fortunately blessed to just have a referral line that's quite extensive.
It's amazing. Now, obviously, say you collaborated with a diverse range of musicians.
Yes, sir.
How do you adapt your playing style to fit these different genres and artists? I'm talking about gospel, R&B, rap. Is there an adaptation needed, or do you just get in there and let it flow?
I wouldn't say I adapt. My job as a drummer, I feel, is to be the glue that holds all parts together. So whatever strings, whatever guitars, whatever horns, whatever instruments that are happening, my job is, one, to be the heartbeat of the body, and two, to be the glue that holds everything together and causes everything to feel amazing. I just bring what I do to the situation. I try to be respectful, honorable to the music, open to what the other musicians have to bring, but ultimately it's my job to be an amazing heartbeat and to keep the body flowing. So that's how I would analyze what it is that I do.
Gotcha. So are there any collaborations that stand out as particularly memorable or challenging? You mentioned 8 Ball and MJG.
Oh, yeah, that was different for me. It was one of my, I'd played with Al Capone. We did a song with the Memphis Symphony, but to play with 8 Ball and MJG was always a dream come true. Interesting and challenging. I did a studio session maybe 2 years ago, and the artist gave me all the trust in the world for me to put the band together, to put the studio together, to listen to her dummy tracks and decide which records we were going to use and re-record. And I got a chance to basically co-produce a record with a young lady. Her name was Kim Tibbs, a black female organist that signed to Hammond Organ, which is big to do considering Hammond Organ really doesn't give a lot of endorsements to blacks, and then not black females at that. So she's from Alabama, and she came to Memphis, and in about 4 days, we recorded almost 22 records. And to know that I was the reason a lot of that happened because of phone calls and favors. And yeah, I would say that's a very memorable experience for me.
Riverside High School, changing of the guard, or something more sinister. When Riverside student Carlos Jones agrees to assist the school's guidance counselor in a plot to derail the stellar career of its beloved principal, a sordid culture of competitive politics, reverse racial discrimination, and inappropriate sexual behavior is revealed. The plan threatens not only to destroy the lives of innocent victims, but could also destroy the reputations of the proud inner-city high school. Pick up all 3 copies of this award-winning tale by author Demetrius Smith from Amazon.com. Scandal at Riverside High, Ruth's Revenge, and The Final Bell.
With that kind of work, man, I mean, how do you keep your creativity flowing? You know, how do you stay motivated in these ongoing projects?
Sometimes it's nothing but the creator, because being human, you get tired, you get burnt out with anything that you do, and you do a lot of it, you get burnt out. So, but my passion for music is so big, it's so intense. Something I didn't realize as a child, but it helps carry me through now. I kind of like go into auto mode. It's just autopilot. If it's a session, if I'm there for 10 hours, they're looking for me to be productive the entire 10 hours. So I just have to give what I can give until that thing has been accomplished.
Right. Well, how do you navigate between your artistic expression and the commercial demands in the music industry?
Having multiple artists to work with, having artists that play in the funk genre, people that do R&B, people that do hip-hop, people that do rap, people that do country, people that do soul. When you don't allow just one thing to be your thing. If you are fortunate and gifted enough to be able to spread yourself and do multiple genres, it keeps you fresh, keeps you on your toes. Or last week, I may have been in the studio playing tambourine on country records. Or next week, I may have to come in and play drums on a beautiful R&B love ballad. Or I may need to come in and play a jazz song. Well, because they're all different, I can't ever really get settled because everything is going to need something new and fresh. So it keeps me on my toes, not knowing what's next.
Well, are there any trends or, that in percussion that you find particularly exciting?
I'm excited about music, period. Like, the crazy thing is drums is the instrument that I play, but I'm really, truly excited about all the other instruments besides drums. I love listening for strings and beautiful chords and guitars and what the bass guitar is doing. And so the drums are the last instrument that moves me when I'm listening to music and enjoying a piece of music. So somewhere in that allows me to be great on drums because I have such an appreciation for everything else that's taking place.
Okay. Now, I know you said 8-Ball and MJG. This next question is about the performance you consider career-defining moment. Would that be with 8-Ball or MJG or some other performance?
That would be one of many.
Or maybe I should ask it, what have been some of your favorite performances or venues that you've had the privilege to play at?
My first time going to the Tokyo Club in Tokyo, Japan was memorable for me. Again, playing for 8-Ball and MJG in front of my home city for the Beale Street Music Fest. I've had a lot of memorable moments. Getting a chance to play Essence Festival in New Orleans one year with Alexander O'Neal and Sherelle. That was dope to me just because Mint Conditioned opened up for us. And I was always a huge fan of Mint Conditioned. So to have a unit that I've loved and loved listening to be our opening act was huge.
So with all you've done, man, what advice would you give to aspiring drummers who are looking to make a career in the music industry?
The first thing that sticks out to me would be life is about timing. On, but more so off our instrument. Timing. You can't rush this process. No matter how you may think you're ready, until source, universe, time itself knows that you're ready, until experience knows and experience is ready for you to go to the next level, it won't happen. So the best thing you can do is just prepare. Stay prepared. Continue to learn. Continue to diversify. Like I said, I was fortunate because I grew up listening to gospel on Sundays. I rode with my grandfather, so I listened to Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra during the week. When I would be at home, I got my Gladys Knight, my Cameo, my R&B. On TV, I got my country and my big band. So I got a chance to be exposed to a number of genres of music. So it wasn't a big thing for me to be able to jump back and forth. I loved Kenny Rogers just like I loved Gladys Knight. So it wasn't a big thing like the separation in music now. So learning music was just learning music for me. Country is supposed to feel a certain way. Gospel is supposed to feel a certain way. Blues songs are supposed to feel a certain way. So it was just about learning to whatever that thing that takes to make each song be true to its nature, if you will. That was more so harder for me than learning the different styles. Just what's important to make this song feel country? What's about this song that makes this song feels like old school blues song? So finding those little elements are the keys. So it's just about studying your craft, being patient, and being prepared. Because it's better to be prepared for the opportunity than the opportunity comes and you have to get prepared. It's not a good look.
And mentioning being prepared. So what does a practice session, or do you practice all the time? Is it 2 days a week, 3 days a week? Or is it when you feel inspired to get in there and, how does that work for Carlo?
Well, with right now, I've been on tour since the top of August. And with that, I've only been home 2 days a week. So I really don't get a chance to sit down on the drums to practice per se. With me in music now, I have a different learning curve, if you will. Say if I have a show coming up, I can take the songs and I just put them on repeat when I get sleepy, when I first wake up in the morning, and I put them on repeat. Once I can play the song in my head subconsciously without wanting to, then I know I have it. Because at that point, it's about muscle memory. Once my subconscious has picked it up, it can tell my body to do it. It's no problem. So my practice is a little different because I'm hopping from show to show. All I can really do is to just listen to the songs, listen to the songs, listen to the songs. All right, we got rehearsal. What day? What time? Okay, I'm there. So it's not really a lot of sitting down behind the drums and figuring it out because the process is the same. It's just, again, what genre are we playing? What's the feel? What am I supposed to make people feel on this song? What's the energy coming from this?
Right. So let us know, what current or upcoming projects are you working on? What are you excited about these days?
Oh, wow. I'm excited to be home, sir. I've been on tour. I'm currently keyboard tech, guitar tech, bass guitar tech, drum tech, and percussion tech for the old school band War. So I've been on tour with them since August. We just did our last show last week, and so I'm happy to have a couple of weeks off at home so I can just rest the body because flying 4 and 5 times during the week can be quite taxing. So I'm appreciative to be off. There was a young lady that just left Memphis about a week ago. She was from Liverpool, same place where the Beatles were. She came here and she recorded a record, and I was fortunate to cut 10 of the 12 songs on her record. So I'm looking forward to her releasing that project. Top of the year, I'll be back out with War. Still doing some work with my brother Jubu, who's the guitarist that used to play with Frankie Beverly and Mays. He's
and what's that project again? I'm sorry, Carlos.
Jubu Smith. It's called the Jubu Smith Project. He's the guitarist that used to play with Mays. But most people would know him for all the music from Tony, Tony, Tony. That was him on guitar, like Lay Your Head on My Pillow. That's my guy Jubu on guitar. It's not Dwayne from Tony, Tony, Tony. It Never Rains in Southern California. That's my guy on guitar. So we have quite a few shows to happen next year. So quite a few things on the brink.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, man, I want you to share, if you would, please, a funny or interesting story. Before I let you go, I was asking if you could share a funny or interesting story or event from your childhood growing up in South Memphis and Riverside. You know, I started this podcast with the hope of exposing some positivity, you know, in our community. You know, we hear about negativity every day in South Memphis. And I knew, you know, just from growing up with a lot of people that there were people out here who were really doing positive, amazing things. And absolutely, you are one of those people.
I appreciate that, brother.
You know, I wanted to make it complete South Memphis, you know, pulling people from our neighborhood. If there's any story you want to share that, you know, that's memorable for you, if you have one, share it with us.
Oh, my God. My childhood was filled with funny moments. Most of them, I was the joke thereof. So I think I remember one of the craziest things. Me and my good friend, Reginald Guy, one day we had the bright idea we would walk home from Shelby State. Mind you, home was off 3rd Street past Southgate Shopping Center. So me and this guy trot from Union and, the heck is that, Union and Monroe? Union and Marshall, and we walk all the way to South Memphis. We laughed at ourselves halfway home, like, what in the hell were we thinking? Feet throbbing.
Didn't think that through.
Oh, man, listen. But it was a beautiful day. We just, you know, we just realized that was not the smart thing to do. But I often think back to that. I do.
Yeah, sometimes that's all we had to do was walk.
Exactly,
no
man.
Way to get around.
Exactly.
Let everybody know how we can keep in touch with you, how we can follow you. What's, you know, social media? What is it?
Okay. Carlos Sargent, last name Sargent. That's on Facebook. Instagram is Carlos_is_cosmic, COSMIC. And I believe I am Cosmic on TikTok.
Okay. Well, look, Carlos, man, I can't thank you enough for agreeing to do this for me.
The pleasure was all
I
mine.
hope
I'm
this,
honored that you would think of me and ask me to do it. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And before we go, I want to invite all former and present Riverside, South Memphis residents who would like to be considered as potential guests on the show to kindly complete the guest intake form on our website. If the idea of sharing your story with our audience appeals to you, then go to www.riversideinreview.com. That's www.riverside.review.com. And again, we are grateful and thankful to having Carlos Sargent with us today. And we hope to get some more footage from him in the future because he's doing wonderful things out in the society. Thank you, Carlos. Have a good evening, bro.
You too.